Hi, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday. Hey, it's been a beautiful day. It's actually been a really great day out today. It started out raining and then the sun came out, so I'm super happy about that. And we have a great topic tonight. It actually is kind of something that gets asked quite a bit, especially when I start working with people and they've been maybe working for a long time on trying to get healthy, or the biggest goal is usually, hey, how can I lose weight? And so that is, a pretty common topic, a pretty common frustration for people when they really discover they're not losing weight, or they're not losing weight as fast as they think that they should. And so we're going to discuss that a little bit tonight. Really quickly, just want to tell everybody a couple of things. The 8-week summer body challenge is going great. So if you guys are local to me and want to participate, we still have a couple of openings for that. If you'd like to, it's great. The girls are doing awesome. They're having a great time. Guys can do it too. So if you want to jump in there, let me know and participate. It's kind of fun. But anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about why. We're going to answer the question for Q&A Wednesday. Why are you not losing weight? And we're going to start with kind of some bigger general ideas, and then we're going to work into maybe some troubleshooting, just because it's not always the obvious that happens. So we'll give you some options for that. But the biggest thing that I want to talk about is, of course, those of you that know me know that I'm not a fan of weight loss, because when we talk about weight loss and we depend upon the scale for all of our information, we don't tend to make really great decisions, because we can lose weight really, really fast. Unfortunately, it's not fat. There's a big difference between losing weight and burning fat. So, you have to focus on the right thing. You have to make sure that you're doing it in a healthy way. But I get it. There's times where weight loss is appropriate, especially if, your doctor has said the benefit of a 10%, weight loss, even by 10%, is going to improve your health, your overall health, and some of the issues that you might be having. Or even if you're going towards that direction, of course, the more overweight that we tend to be. And again, I'm speaking from a point of experience, not just knowledge, because of those of you that don't know me, at the heaviest point in my life, it was 210 pounds. And at 5'3", that's a pretty intense weight to be carrying around on my frame. So I have been to the point where the biggest issue for me was I just didn't have the knowledge. I didn't understand. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that in here in a second. But taking some weight off of my poor body, my spine was not designed for 210 pounds. My feet, it kind of got to the point where I just was miserable. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's what made the biggest difference in my life was, number one, my goals changed a little bit. I focused more on getting strong, and strength training did change my life. Because of course, the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism. So, at 30-ish years old, 28 to 30 years old, really not having a knowledge of how to be healthy and how to live a healthy lifestyle, that's what made the biggest difference in my life was, taking in everything that I could possibly find information-wise, hiring a trainer and learning how to lift. And of course, now that's kind of my life. Not only do I teach that as an educator, but I obviously live it as well. So yeah, so let's talk about it. If this is something that you're struggling with, pay attention, because, maybe something that you'll hear might inspire you, or at least send you on the right path. My job is not only to be a personal trainer, but I'm also a health and wellness coach, because I know that I'm not certified for everything, right? There's certain things but I can guide you the right direction. So, if you're having some issues with digestion, or, thyroid, or with other things, I can always, go see your doctor. There's things that I usually have my clients go do in order to either rule something out, or, everybody's so different. We can't treat everybody the same. I don't cookie cutter anything that I do. So, okay, we're going to talk a little bit about, again, not a huge fan of the scale. So if you have 15 to 20 pounds to lose, first of all, remember that it's not necessarily about what the scale says. It's about your body fat percentage and how your clothes fit. That's going to be a more accurate tool to measure your progress by. It's the scale. Again, as women, we fluctuate depending on the time of the month. You might be up or down. You might be retaining water. So the scale can only give you so much information. We're really talking about, why are you not reaching your goals? Why are you not getting the direction that you want to go? So for my first big reason is, you probably don't know the real formula, right? There's so much garbage on TV and on social media, hey, you want to lose weight, drop to 1,200 calories. I mean, there's gimmicks, there's myths, and of course, none of them work. So here's the deal, guys. If it hasn't worked for you before, why would that change? I do believe that is the definition of insanity, is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. If that didn't work for you before, it's not going to work for you this time. So keep in mind that, what's popular and what's out there doesn't necessarily work. And even if it does, it's going to be short term. Diets in general, now a diet kind of connotates that you're cutting back on calories. You may be cutting something out, we're going to talk about this later, a nutrient out of your diet. You're sacrificing, you're going without. And that's not really what it's about, because diets tend to be short term. People think, okay, I'm going to go on a diet for 3 months. Okay, but then so are the results. If you go back to what you were doing, you're going to lose all your progress. So knowing the science and knowing the formula behind what you're trying to accomplish is the biggest point that you need to make. If you're trying to lose 20 pounds, what's it going to take to actually lose those 20 pounds? Is it, eating diet food and starving yourself, or, doing 3 hours of cardio? It's not. So keep that in mind, that you've got to know what it's going to take to get there. And if you're not sure, get professional help, and get qualified professional help. Just because they say they're a trainer, you know what? Ask for references. Who have you worked with that's actually had great results? Can I talk to them? Because again, not all trainers are created the same. So just because they work at a gym, first of all, look at how they look, right? If your trainer does not practice what they preach, then that's probably not somebody you want to follow, their advice. Go to somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, that has a background in nutrition. All trainers should talk about some general nutrition, because you can exercise all you want, but if you don't work with your nutrition as well, you're not going to get what your goal is. You're not going to reach your goal. So that's going to be super important. I think the second big thing that you have to do is be real with yourself. I find it really interesting when I ask people, okay, well, tell me about your nutrition, or tell me about this. Oh, I eat healthy. Okay, well, let me see, are you tracking that? Well, no. Okay, well, how many calories are you eating? Well, I don't know. Well, how many grams of protein are you eating? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, if you don't know, then how do you know you're eating healthy, right? How do you know you're going the right direction? How do you know that your formula is correct for you? So you have to be real with yourself. You have to be accountable. It's too easy, even for me, to justify certain things. Like, oh, I haven't eaten all day, so I can have Doritos because, I haven't had any calories, so that'll be okay. Well, now you're putting really unhealthy foods on top of no metabolism because you haven't eaten all day. So don't justify. You've got to come out to being accountable to yourself, or being accountable to somebody else, so that you know that you're on top of it. Like I said, so you don't kid yourself, right? Sometimes when we do really well, we see great results, then we start to get a little lax. It's honestly the reason I started to compete, because I found that even once I had reached my goal weight, I started to go back to bad habits, because it's like, well, hey, I'm where I want to go. Well, then the weight started to creep back on. So again, be careful about saying, well, I've already arrived. Now I can, back down a little bit. No, whatever you did to get there, you got to kind of keep doing in order to stay there. Maybe you're missing workouts that you hadn't before. I know life changes and that balance is important. You're never going to find pure balance, so don't kid yourself. It's about harmony. As your life changes, the balance has to change, and that's okay. That's part of how life is. Another one might be too many cheat meals. I've known lots and lots of people that do really great during the week while they're at work, and they have their meal set up and their timing. And then on the weekend, they go out with friends and they pretty much undo everything that they've worked for all week, whether that's a pitcher of beer, or, too many pieces of pizza. Not that you shouldn't ever have those, but make sure that you're not overdoing it, or that you're not letting a cheat meal turn into a cheat weekend, which turns into a cheat month, right? So that's important. Some people aren't measuring their food. If you are not getting where you want to go, you might not be detailed enough. You might not be accurate enough. at first, I like my clients to actually weigh and measure their food to some degree. And then as you get good at it and can eyeball it, that's great, unless you find yourself going backwards a little bit. So, you might be thinking that you're, case in point, someone who shall remain nameless, thought they were eating 2 tablespoons of peanut butter on their sandwich. And when they actually finally started measuring it, realized it was 6, which was 3 times their serving size and a whole lot more calories. So again, it's really easy to that's how I like to eat peanut butter, right? Just scoop, that's a tablespoon, right? Wrong. So, if you're not measuring, you might need to do that. The smaller and tighter and that you are, like where I'm at this point in my life, everything makes a difference. I mean, even a couple of ounces here and there can make a difference as to where I'm trying to go. Now, if you're starting with 100 pounds to lose, just cleaning up your diet is going to make a big difference, and cutting out sugar and processed food. But at some point, you're going to have to get a little more detailed and pay attention. Plus, it's a really great learning process. Same thing with alcohol. If you're drinking alcohol more than, a few times a month, it's probably hindering your progress. I know people that drink every night because that's what they do to unwind. Okay, well, then that's why you're not losing weight. Now, technically, alcohol doesn't make you gain weight to an extent. There's more to that, but in general, it will prevent you from burning fat. It'll prevent you from losing weight because your metabolism actually has to deal with the alcohol first before it will tap into fat stores and help you burn fat. So again, I know lots of people who do really great during the week, but then 2 pitchers of margaritas later on the weekend, they've just undone everything that they worked for that week. So keep that in mind. The third thing that I want to talk about really quick, and I've got some smaller tips. These are kind of my big general reasons why you might not be losing weight. But the third one is that you might not be paying attention to your macros. Your macro formula might be incorrect, okay? The macros do different things. And for those of you, I get this all the time. What's a macro? Macro is a macronutrient. That's your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. And they each do different things for your body. So, for a long time, at least when I was growing up, it was all about calories in and calories out, right? You just have to burn more calories than you take in. However, if you're eating too many carbs, why would your body tap into your fat stores for fuel, right? It's getting all that it needs from the carbs that you're eating. So again, and it also tends to be the type of carbs that you're eating. And honestly, guys, there is no loophole that's going to let you eat junk and lose weight. It just doesn't work. You can think that all you want, but that doesn't work. It will show up on your system somehow. Now, when you're younger, when you're in your 20s, you might be able to eat a lot of things that, those of us that are a little older can't necessarily get away with, but that will affect you at some point in your life. How you ate when you were younger actually will have an immense effect as you get older, because it completely changes your chemistry and your microbiome or your gut health. So keep that in mind. That what you did as a kid can actually come to affect you as you get older. Sandy wants to know, do you have any tips for your brain messing with you? I feel like I do well, and my brain, okay, hold on a second. It's not letting me read that. Let me see if it'll let me read the whole thing. My brain convinces me that I should eat something I shouldn't. Okay, so here's the deal. That's the difference between hunger and hunger. There's 2 totally different types of hunger. One is a mental hunger, and it's partially a craving. Cravings come from your body wanting to release dopamine. It wants that good feeling, right? And it can also be from eating too much sugar, because sugar, of course, is an addicting substance. It actually releases dopamine in your brain. It lights up the same part of your brain as cocaine. So first of all, you have to determine whether it's a mental, or I call it kind of a phantom hunger, or whether it's an actual physical hunger. Now, if you are physically hungry, if your stomach hurts, if it's tight, if you know the difference between the two, and here's the biggest way you know the difference. If getting rid of that hunger can come from eating a fruit or a vegetable, then it's physical hunger. If you feel like you need to eat comfort food in order for that hunger to go away, it is a mental, emotional hunger. So first of all, you got to decide which one it is. And then secondly, you've got to take steps to alleviate that. So again, if it's physical hunger, eat something. Just don't eat garbage. Eat something healthy. Eat some fruits or vegetables. you know, a lot of times I'll go grab a green pepper if my stomach's hungry and it's not really time to eat yet. If it's mental hunger, you're going to have to do a couple of things. First of all, you're going to figure out what your triggers are. Number two, you're going to actually have to find other ways to deal with it. You may have to do a sugar detox as well, because sugar plays a huge role into it. And not only that, big food industry counts on that. You'll notice that there's sugar in everything. Guys, there is sugar in iodized salt. Blew me away when I learned that. Iodized salt. And it's because they know that if you will start using it, you will, you know, you'll get hooked on it. You'll buy more, right? Matthew says, eat at Chipotle, you'll lose weight for sure. Okay, I have to admit, I've never eaten at Chipotle, so you're going to have to explain that a little bit more. I'm not sure what he means by that. I don't know if he means it's not very good, or I don't know. So, you know, when it is a mental hunger, you have to find... I actually highly recommend you drink more water. Start with that, drink more water, try eating something healthy first. And then if that doesn't take care of it, because honestly, my mental hunger came from stress. That's my unhealthy relationship with food from, you know, from the time I was a kid. Stress and boredom. So I know what I need to do in order to alleviate that. First of all, I have things to do. I can either, Jenny says he's joking. Okay, I'm paying attention. I usually will go for a walk, or I will do some yoga. I'll usually leave the house, because then I'm not rummaging around for food. Cardio really does help. I have a love-hate relationship with cardio, but it usually takes my mind off of it. But drinking more water in general can help, because sometimes it will take your mind off of it. It'll put something in your stomach. You know, it'll give you kind of a full sensation briefly, so that you don't feel, because sometimes dehydration can actually feel like hunger. And again, we're talking more about the physical, but you're going to have to come up with some strategies in order to avoid the mental hunger. Like I said, when I feel bored, I go find something to do. I go for a walk, I leave the house, you know, I go through my to-do list, something, so that I don't do that. I don't have that problem quite as much. Partially because I've learned my own strategies that work for me. I've kind of found my groove, but also because I don't eat sugar on a regular basis. When I do, I'm not going to lie, when I start eating sugar, I can't stop. So that is something that I actually avoid as much as possible. At this point, when I eat a lot of sugar, I just make myself sick. So then I go back to eating healthy anyway. Matthew says, I went from 275 to 185, no food after 5 p.m. Yeah, those are great tips. You know, eating a little bit all day long. I know that there's been research that shows that you don't necessarily have to eat 6 times a day in order to lose weight or to get healthy. The reason I recommend that to my clients is primarily because you're less likely to grab unhealthy food, empty calories, when you are actually physically full. There is a huge difference. You guys, it took me years, decades, to actually realize that there was a difference between mental and emotional hunger and physical hunger. And once I finally got that, like I said, then I could take steps to have those strategies. You might have to try a few things to go around that. Now, the no food after 5 p.m., that's a choice. You know, some people do some type of intermittent fasting where they, you know, maybe they eat for the 12 hours of the day and then they fast for 12 hours of the night. Honestly, for me, I eat super late because I can't allow my body to go too many hours without some protein, because my body will tap into my muscle for fuel. So that works for some people. And honestly, I think that's more because then you avoid the snacks and the junk at night, because that's when people tend to really crave those kind of things, like, you know, the pretzels and the ice cream and the cookies and things like that. I know that if I do crave, it's usually between 3 and 7 p.m. So I'm aware of what my triggers are and when I start to crave foods, and I have some other options for that. Paul would like to know, do you have to lean down and get your body metabolism correct before building muscle? No. As a matter of fact, sometimes when you try to build muscle and lean down at the same time, it's doable. It's just really, really difficult. It takes a lot longer time. Partially, it's doable because you can still eat. You have to eat clean. You can still eat a surplus of calories. It just has to be clean calories. And you can, there is a formula to kind of lean out at the same time. I don't necessarily, I recommend building first, because when you build muscle, the muscle will actually help you burn the fat. For every pound of muscle that you put on, your body actually needs 50 extra calories to maintain it. So if you put muscle on, it will actually help you lean down. So I highly recommend that you build first. As a matter of fact, most people, as one of my tips today, most people do way too much cardio and not enough strength training. Like I said, I did cardio for years and couldn't figure out why my body didn't change, partially because I didn't change my nutrition, and that plays a huge role. And I wasn't strength training. I was doing hours of cardio, which your body gets really good at really fast. So then anyway, I just got distracted by somebody else's comment. So sorry about that. Bo says, I can't gain. That's a little more difficult to do, especially for somebody who's what we call an ectomorph, that means your metabolism is ridiculously high. It is possible. You probably have to change your formula. I'm not going to get into that too far today, but actually somebody who's trying to gain weight actually needs to eat more carbs, believe it or not. Most people think way more protein. You do need a certain amount of protein, but you also, when you're trying to gain weight and gain muscle, you actually need more carbs so that your body's taking its energy from the carbs and not the protein. Okay, so that's kind of the simplified version of that. So back to your macros could be wrong. If you are trying to lose weight and you're not getting there, and you are tracking just your calories, but you're not paying attention to where those calories are coming from, that could be a big deterrent on what you're trying to accomplish. So, again, you might be eating way too many carbs. And again, if you're eating too many carbs, then your body doesn't tap into your fat stores for fuel. Or you just might not be eating enough calories. I do not know exactly how all this garbage started, that as soon as somebody decides they want to lose weight, they go down to 1,200 calories. And I don't know how many times I have to reiterate this, that 1,200 calories is the minimum amount of calories a human being should eat to not have effects of starvation. Somebody who has 100 pounds to lose should not start at 1,200 calories. The smaller the car, the smaller the gas tank. If you're still a pickup, you need to be eating the tank's worth of food. You have to eat the fuel for the right vehicle. If you don't start high enough, as soon as you start to lose weight, you're going to stall out because you're already not eating enough calories. Your metabolism will actually drop to meet where you are. But the reverse is true. If you're eating more, now we're talking healthy food, guys. We're not talking going down and getting a pizza. That is a problem, right? Because the more processed food, the more your body will absorb. When you eat more calories, clean calories, your metabolism will speed up to deal with it. It will also realize it doesn't need the fat stores, and it will help alleviate that by emptying the fat cells. So again, eating enough food right from the get-go is important. As a matter of fact, eating breakfast, you guys, I don't know how many people skip breakfast. I know for some people it's difficult to do, and I have some ulterior options to help them solve that. But breakfast is the most important of the day because you've already fasted all night while you sleep. So by the way, most people do some sort of intermittent fasting. When you wake up, you need to restoke your fire, restoke your metabolism. It's kind of like trying to start a fire without kindling. If you don't put anything on it, what's it going to burn, right? So breakfast is one of the most important things of the day. As a matter of fact, I always get some sort of a little more simple carbs. Now, not junk. I'm talking like oats, cream of rice. Some people like Ezekiel or Dave's Killer Bread. Something that can kind of jump back into their system and help restart it really quick. And then definitely get some protein, some eggs. I love protein pancakes. That's my gig right now, guys. Some protein powder in my egg whites, and oh my gosh, it's like the best thing ever. So make sure that you're getting enough calories. All right, so these are some smaller tips that came from a website called activebeat.co, which I don't understand the difference between that and .com, so whatever. But here's some of their tips, and I might expand on a little bit, but not drinking enough water. Like I said, sometimes dehydration, you might mistake dehydration for hunger, and so that could be a problem. Also, water is a great way to flush your system. When someone tells me, hey, asks what kind of cleanse I use, I'm like, water, dude. Water, because your body is mostly made up of water. Not only that, it will help your body work most efficiently. It'll help your liver, your kidneys. The more muscle you have, the more water you need to drink. So that's super important as well. If you're doing too much cardio and not enough strength training, we talked a little bit about that. You guys, if you do hours of cardio, your body it adapts really quickly. And so, in the beginning, that hour of cardio might have really burned some calories, but it pretty quickly gets used to it and adapts. And so now all of a sudden you're not burning that amount of calories, you're burning this amount of calories. You need that strength training because the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism. And not just when you do any activities, even while you sleep. So that's important as well. Skipping breakfast, which we just kind of talked about. leaving out nutrients. I am not a fan of any lifestyle that completely leaves out a nutrient. And I'm talking the macronutrients, right? Like keto completely cuts out, for the most part, carbs. Unfortunately, I think that does more damage than it solves. Temporarily, you might get some great results, but you're missing out on some incredible foods that do a good job. There is a huge difference, you guys, between a complex carb, which are things like, whole grain brown rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes. You can even do regular potatoes. Just don't do the starchy baker potatoes. There's great options for carbs that give you such vitamins and minerals and nutrients that you completely miss out on if you cut them completely out. The problem is when most people think carbs, they think sugar, and there's a difference. The more fiber that it has, and that's why we call it a complex carb, the slower the sugars will hit your system. The slower the sugars will hit your bloodstream and spike your insulin. So complex carbs are necessary because they keep your blood sugar level, which is what you need, right? Plus your brain needs those in order to work correctly and to do its job. Not that your body can't run in alternative sources. The problem with that is that when you cut out a nutrient, say like carbs, if you can't stay on that particular style of diet basically forever, unless it's sustainable forever, whenever you go off, you're going to gain that weight right back. So there's ways to do that without having to sacrifice, without having to cut something completely out. Because again, now you're missing out on important and essential vitamins and minerals that you actually need, right? So keep that in mind. Another one that they mentioned is stress. Stress can have a huge toll on, your goal of trying to lose weight, because that is your body's survival mechanism for more than one reason. In the days where food wasn't plentiful, our ancestors actually, would eat as much as they could when food was plentiful. So maybe when there were times of famine or times of less food, their body could live off of their fat stores. In this day and age where everything's so convenient and so easy to get and more than we need, we tend to overeat more than we really need, and we don't hit those times where our body has to maintain itself by, eating what you've stored. Plus, double that up with the stressful lifestyles that we live. Somebody who works shift work, who works against the circadian rhythm. Maybe they work all night. They don't get that deep sleep. They're messing up their system. The problem with your body is that the more stress you're under, you release something called cortisol, and it's a hormone, but it's the fight or flight hormone. And again, it's designed so that when you're in danger, your body, you have that quick adrenaline rush. You can get up, you can leave, you can go, you can do something. With today's lives, the way that people live, we tend to pretty consistently be so stressed. Our body is constantly releasing cortisol. And so our body wants to retain that fat because it's saving us, right? More than that, there's other ways that fat protects us. But in general, that's the biggest one physically, is that, when we're under that stress, our body wants to retain it, primarily in the abdomen area, which is the worst type of fat that we can retain. That's that brown fat that it causes type 2 diabetes, heart disease, really some big issues with that. So, if you can't figure out how to at least alleviate some stress and get those cortisol levels down, that can be a huge problem for you. Also, if you are struggling to get enough sleep, your body resets when you hit deep sleep. And if you're not hitting that deep sleep on a regular basis at night, a couple things happen. Number one, your body doesn't get the energy that it needs. And so it tries to get that in other ways, which might be hunger, right? Because of course it needs energy to run. And so now it's going to substitute food and cravings instead of the sleep that you're not allowing it to get. The next one is that, again, your body resets when it hits that deep sleep. Your growth hormone releases, your natural growth hormone. So if you're trying to build muscle, but the biggest one is that, it shuts everything off. It allows your body to recover and repair itself. So if you're not allowing for that, you're not shutting down the cortisol levels, you're not avoiding that, your body is going to fight you the whole way, right? As soon as you get your circadian rhythm is just how your body releases hormones to adjust to daylight and sleep. So at night, your body releases serotonin or melatonin, now I'm having a brain fart, sorry. in order for you to go to sleep. It makes you tired. In the morning, as it gets close to time to wake up and the sun's coming up, your body actually does release cortisol, but it has a purpose behind that. And that's to wake you up, but it's not like the stress cortisol where, it's constantly being released. So keep that in mind that, reducing your stress and getting enough sleep can make huge impacts on whether or not you can lose weight. Eating out was another topic. Here's the deal, guys. If you're pretty consistently eating out, first of all, even if you're making good choices, you can't determine that exactly what's in it is in it. Like what they say is in it is in it. You don't necessarily know what portions you're getting. You can eyeball it to an extent, but usually when you eat out, there's way more sodium. Again, even if they say, on their nutrition label or their nutrition website that that's how much it is, you don't know that that's the serving size you're actually getting. You don't know that they haven't added extra oils that you don't know about, because now we're talking about human error and judgment here. I don't eat out very often because, number one, I can't control what they're doing with it. Like I said, I've gotten food in front of me before and gone, okay, these are not steamed, they're sauteed, and I can't eat them. I've gotten coffee where I've asked for sugar-free, and they've given me the sugar-free sauce, not the sugar-free syrup, and the sugar-free sauce still has carbs in it, which at the time I couldn't have. So, again, it makes it really difficult to control. I tend to leave eating out for once in a great while when I can have whatever it is that I want for that meal. That's my free meal. That's my cheat meal. Because again, I can't determine and honestly, if you're eating fast food on a regular basis, you're probably just not getting the best option anyway. And that's probably preventing you from losing weight. Also, diet foods. Okay, so all of you who are my age remember in the 90s when they started talking about fat causes fat, which is completely untrue. Garbage, eating junk, eating processed food and sugar and trans fats causes fat. So back then they ran this whole campaign, and then they started to make things that were low fat. The problem is that when they're low fat, they add more sugar for flavor. And the opposite is true. When it's usually low sugar, they're adding fats back in order to give it flavor. So diet foods are not necessarily diet foods, they're a big gimmick. Plus, it also allows you to think, oh, well, it's a diet food, I can have more of it, right? Take Oreo thins, right? They're thin, so they have less calories per Oreo, so I can eat more of them. And then you end up eating more than you would if you were eating regular Oreos. Protein cookies, guys. Protein cookies. There's a new one out by Quest that's at least a better option. The makers of Quest Bar, they actually taste pretty good too, which was very impressive. But again, it's still a processed food. But those other ones that are going to remain unnamed, you guys, first of all, the serving size is half a cookie, and it has 15, 16 grams of sugar per half a cookie. So if you're eating the full cookie, you might as well eat a regular cookie because you're getting just as many grams of sugar. So again, just because it says that it's a diet food, just because it touts that it's a healthy option does not make it so. You have to read the label, you have to pay attention to the ingredients, and you got to do some due diligence in knowing what they're hiding in there to try and sell their product, okay? The last quick tip that I want to give you, if none of those sound like they will work for you, if you've really tried everything and you're still struggling, we're missing a variable, and that variable very well could be that you need to have some testing done by your primary care provider, your practitioner. Maybe your thyroid is off. Your thyroid is what controls your metabolism. And so if it is off for any reason, and there's a lot of issues that can happen, you're going to struggle no matter what you do. So especially the older that you get, you should have your hormones checked. You should have your thyroid checked, because if any of those are off, they might be one of the main reasons that you're struggling to reach your goals. Again, I just found out that my thyroid was quite off. And so fortunately, it hasn't really prevented me from losing weight, because I've been, or at least leaning out, because that's something that I kind of figured out the formula that works for me. But it definitely prevented me from having the energy levels that I needed to have. So don't be afraid to go get testing done. And even if they say that your normals are your levels are within normal range, you may even choose to go to a specialist, because they're going to do a little more about how those levels play together, not just are they each within normal range, because that really doesn't mean anything if they're all over the place. So again, there's things that you can do. Now, I'm just going to make a little commercial for myself at the moment. I do a lot of online coaching. If that's something that you're interested in, please direct message me. I work with people all the time. Sometimes it's just about a little bit of accountability and getting you in the right direction and teaching you the right formula that will work for you. And so I've got some openings for that right now. If that's something that you're interested in, like I said, either leave me a message, text something below, a comment, or direct message me, because I can give you a little more towards that and give you some more information. So hopefully that helps. I think that we've just become kind of a little brainwashed about how our metabolisms work and how losing weight really works. So just getting the right knowledge can be a huge step in getting the direction that you want to go. Again, focus on what's important. Again, it's not how fast you can lose it. It's once you get there, how long can you keep it off? And to do that, it has to be a lifestyle, not a short-term option. So with that being said, I got some stuff to do tonight. I'm going to go do it. And it's still gorgeous outside. I'm sitting in front of the window so I can feel the sun. But please share this information with other people. My goal is just to help people understand the way that your body really works and not the garbage that you see on TV. Because again, they're just trying to sell you something. So have an incredible evening, guys, and I will see you next week, Q&A Wednesday. Only